Welcome to my allotment. It's the middle of August and I'm going around and harvesting some of my vegetables. So if you've not already subscribed to my channel, if you could please do so, because you'll get lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my allotment, my home garden and also my home kitchen. So it's a really exciting time of year because lots of stuff I'm able to pick and I'm able to see lots of positive changes. So courgettes are something that I've got in copious amounts. So I'm regularly, every few days, having to come up here and break off the ones that are ready. So I've got lots of different types. I've got this very pale green one, and as you can see, even though I came up here 3 days ago, one of them's got really massive. So I'm going through and just checking all of the courgettes. So I've grown a selection of varieties because I like to have lots of different colours in my cooking. One of the main benefits of growing your own produce. So, and this one in particular, it's taken a little while to grow, and this is the first one that I've grown this year. I do grow this regularly actually, but it's a different type. I actually call it a sun squash, but it doesn't harden up like the winter squashes do. You eat it just like a courgette, but it's a slightly different texture. So, and again, I've got another variety here, a yellow variety. So, and I've also got a round one actually, which I nearly forgot to pick. So I've really done really well this year with my courgettes. I often plant quite a few different varieties, but they don't all come to fruition. So there we go, that's one of the round ones. So I've got a real selection here. They're quite prickly, I warn you. So also what I've got here, I've got a selection of French and runner beans. I don't normally grow them together, but I did this year, so you've just got to pick off the bigger ones. That's a little bit too small actually for a runner bean. So this is more the size you're looking for if you've never grown them before. And I use a special peeler to help slice them, which I will put in the description, which makes slicing up your beans a lot easier. So as I go through, you're looking for all the larger ones. So, like so. Kind of like more that size, what you're looking for. That's actually a little bit small, but it doesn't really matter that much. Also got a selection of French beans, all different colours, which is particularly lovely. Again, adds a lot of colour to the plate, makes your cooking far more interesting. So these are actually meant to be green, but somehow they've got a tinge of green and purple in them. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but again, another thing that's really lovely to have on your allotment. So it takes quite a while to pick all your beans because you just think you've picked them all and then you see another bunch somewhere else. So it's quite often worth picking them and then going back just before you leave just to make sure you haven't missed any, because quite often they camouflage themselves in between all the other leaves. So I shall pick the rest of those later, but I think I'm going to have quite a crop of those. And a lot of people ask how you freeze them. Well, actually, I just slice them and freeze them. I don't blanch them. I've done that for many years and it works really, really well. You can blanch them if you want to, so you can always do a test, blanch some and don't blanch some. But honestly, I freeze them, they're absolutely fine. So my parsnips are not ready. I've got to leave them in for a little bit longer, although I did pick some little baby ones just to thin them out the other day, and I put them in the casserole, so that's a top tip. Your parsnips probably won't be big enough to dig just yet, and anyway you would generally wait for the first frost because it improves the flavour, but I needed to thin mine out, so all the little ones I put in a stew, which meant that I didn't waste them. I've also got lots of lovely beetroots. I only harvested some of those the other day, so I'm not going to harvest any more. Same with my carrots. I've got a really good selection of carrots under there, but I've got plenty at home, so I don't need to be digging any more. As with my potatoes, I do need to lift the rest of those potatoes, but I've got quite a lot at home. Now, I don't know whether anyone remembers, but I sowed a selection of seeds. As you can see, they're coming on really nicely. I've only got one row that I think might not have germinated, but actually they might just starting to be coming through now. But they've really come through, so we'll just have to see what that produces. So obviously this is a late sowing in August, and there is another video for that for anyone who hasn't sown any seeds for August, because there are plenty you can be doing. A selection of chard, beetroot, carrots. I've got radishes over the other side. I've got spring onions in there, and I've got quite a selection of bits. But if you watch that video as well about what you can sow in August, again, that will give you some really good tips. So the other thing I'm going to be harvesting is more flowers. It only seemed like a few days ago that I harvested a load of these. Now when you harvest dahlias, you don't ever harvest them when they're not properly open, because they won't, unlike a lot of flowers, they won't open anymore when you get them home, or that's what I find anyway. You have to harvest them when they've properly opened, like that one has properly opened, so I can cut that and take it home. I can cut that and take it home. So I could cut that one, or I could let it grow a little bit, pop out a little bit more, but I probably will cut these ones because I'm happy that's opened enough. And again, like I say, I could cut that one down there. That one's perfectly open, but that one, I couldn't cut that. So like when you buy daffodils in the shops, you buy them when they're closed and they open. Things like dahlias don't do that, you know, so you have to cut them when they're actually open, which does mean they don't last all that long. But when you grow dahlias, you get such a large amount of them, it doesn't really matter, they don't last that long. I've also harvested some blackberries and raspberries. I've got another punnet up there, but that's something else I've been picking. I'm going to cut myself some of my lettuces as well. So like I said before, I will cut these, and then when I get them home, I will plunge them straight into cold water. Otherwise they will go limp really, really quickly. So I just cut them off with a pair of scissors, really simply, because they're cut and come again. Pop them in the bag. I actually did put a few beetroots because I know one of my friends is quite partial to them. This is my second row of beetroots here. I'm not going to be pulling them yet, but they look like they're coming along absolutely beautifully. And actually, there's little baby beetroots in there. So they're coming on absolutely fantastically. So I'm really pleased with those. My sweet corn is still a little bit behind, so not time to pick that yet. Loads of chard, which I don't really want. One thing I will say is with all your squashes, the runners start to run out. Now when I came up here this morning, this runner was trying to climb up here. Well, I don't want that to happen, so I gently teased it down and put it in between there, because I don't want it climbing over where I don't want it. So I would never cut it off, because actually I've got some little squashes on there, as you can see. So I gently just tease it off onto the ground where it's just in a better place. So, but you just have to be really careful not to tread on them. That's the only thing this time of year. Everything is getting really, really big. You will run out of room unless you've not planted enough. So you just have to be really careful not to tread on everything. And you will tread on the odd thing. So don't beat yourself up too much about it, because we all do it from time to time. My kale, absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to be harvesting a little bit of that. Can generally pull it straight off with your hands, but it's handy to have a pair of scissors ready, just in case. So obviously being careful not to stand on my squash. I'll gently lift it up and just pull a few bits off. So I can't recommend netting them enough, because as you can see, the leaves are absolutely beautiful on that. You know, very little bug damage, a little bit, but very, very minimal. So I'm going to pull my first red cabbage today. So I did have a little sneaky check to see how it was swelling out, see whether it was worth picking, and I know it is. So I'm just going to pull my first red cabbage. So one of my favourite things is braised red cabbage with star anise and a little bit of chicken stock. So absolutely fantastic heart in there. So that's what you're waiting for. You're waiting for your red cabbages to heart up. And as you can see, it's got an absolutely beautiful heart that has. That's absolutely perfect. So as we move up, I've picked most of my blackberries today. That was the first thing I did when I got here. So that's a job that you need to do every third day, really, at least. So, and my pears, actually, although I've got a little bit of disease on them, a lot of them aren't looking too bad, and I've actually been assured that the chances are, even if there's a little bit of mark on the skin, if I peel them, some of them will still be okay. And rhubarb as well. There's always rhubarb, and I still plan to make more jam and chutney. I think I've probably said on various videos I'm going to make extra, and I haven't done yet, but I've got it, so I might as well use it, because come mid-September to the end of September, it will start to flop down and you'll lose your chance to do it. So you either need to pick it and cook with it, or pick it and freeze it. So that's your options really. So if you like your rhubarb, you better start freezing it now, but it does come quite early on in the season, so you haven't got too long to wait before you get any more. So I really hope that this has helped and inspired you with your garden, and that my harvesting my crops If you haven't harvested much this year, we'll inspire you to do more next year. And if you've got any questions, as always, please do put them in the comments, and we will, as ever, do our best to answer them and help you as much as we can.